Hey dreamer, tonight we're drifting back to ancient Rome, to a place that feels like a gym, a boarding school and a business deal all at once, the Gladiator training school. Forget the movie glamour, this is the real world. Scraped knuckles, aching muscles, and early mornings that smell like dust and sweat. Here, the perks are simple. Warm porridge, a doctor on staff, and a careful routine designed to keep you strong. Because one day your name might be called, and the whole city will be waiting. Before you get too comfortable, take a second to like the video and subscribe. Your support means a lot, and if you feel like it, you can leave a comment telling me where you're listening from, and what history topic you'd love to drift off to next. Now dim the lights, get cozy, release your shoulders, and let's gently step into ancient Rome to see what it truly took to survive a day as a gladiator. Have you ever wondered what it was really like to live as a gladiator in ancient Rome? Do you wake up excited for training, or is it like a Monday and your soul is still buffering? How do you stay strong when your diet is basically barley, beans and stubbornness? And what does it do to your nerves, living with the arena hanging over you like a calendar invite you can't decline? Well, welcome to your life as a gladiator in Rome. It's the 1st century of the empire and you're inside a gladiator training school called a ludus. Your life is now measured in drills and recovery, not days of the week. You wake up in a small room inside the training school, the kind of room that says minimalist lifestyle, but only because someone else owns everything you would like to have. The air smells like sweat, old leather, and yesterday's effort. Somewhere nearby a door slams, a man barks orders, and your body remembers every bruise before your brain fully turns on. You lie there for one more breath, like you are hoping the Empire forgets you exist. Your sleeping mat is thin, the blanket scratchy, and your pillow is actually just a folded cloth that someone once optimistically called soft. But it's not. You stretch one leg, feel your calf cramp immediately, and decide maybe stillness is your friend. Your back is sore from yesterday's falls, and your left shoulder is still holding a grudge from last week's bout with the overly enthusiastic recruit who swings like a man trying to kill a wasp with a shovel. The silence in the room is brief, broken by the sound of someone coughing in the next cell, or laughing, or both. Another shout cracks through the corridor, followed by the thud of sandals slapping against stone. The Lanista's assistant is making his rounds, yelling motivational phrases like, "Get up before I come in there and motivate you with a stick." You consider your options. Stay in bed and risk humiliation in front of everyone, or get up and face whatever punishment is disguised as exercise today. You roll to your side with the grace of a dropped sack of laundry, and your body creaks like an old cartwheel. Your feet touch the cold floor. You sit there for a moment, hunched over, elbows on knees, staring at your hands like you are reading a tragic prophecy written in bruises and blisters. The air in the room doesn't move, it sits, thick and used. It's a smell you're used to now. Part effort, part stress, part that one guy who doesn't believe in soap. You grab your tunic from the peg on the wall, shake it out, and pull it over your head. It's stiff with yesterday's sweat and regret. As you step into the corridor, the noise increases. Voices echo from every direction. Some are muttered, some are groaned. You shuffle into line with the others, eyes half closed, everyone dressed in the same scratchy uniforms like the saddest team in Rome's least fun summer camp. One man beside you is already stretching, one is already complaining. The corridor leads out toward the practice yard, and as you walk, you pass the door to the medicus's room. You glance inside and see bandages, jars of herbs, and a table that looks suspiciously like a place where people go to cry. You nod respectfully at the medicus, not out of affection, but because one day soon you will probably be on that table asking if a rib can be pushed back in. The morning air hits your face like a splash of cold water and sunlight. The yard is already filling with others. You take your place, not because you are ready, but because you are here. And being here is most of the job. You look around at the others, and no one looks rested. Everyone looks like they woke up already behind on life. But they stand, and you stand, because that is what you do. You show up, you endure, you sweat, you learn, and you get through the morning one shouted command at a time. You remember the little detail that defines your whole life, whether you're here because you were forced, or because you signed up for money, debt relief, or a spectacular midlife crisis. Some gladiators are enslaved prisoners, some are condemned criminals, and some are free men who choose the arena for pay and fame. Either way, you are now part of a world where your reputation is public and your freedom is complicated. It is comforting, in a strange way, that everyone around you also regrets at least one major decision. You glance across the yard and try to remember who is who. There is Gaius, who used to wear a senator's robe and now wears bruises. He gambled everything and lost. Mago, a Berber warrior taken in battle, keeps his silence like a shield, and Decimus, who supposedly signed up just to get out of a miserable marriage. It might be a joke, but no one's laughing. Everyone has a story, most of them shaped by desperation or very questionable timing. If you are enslaved, your name might not even be your own anymore. It was replaced the same day they gave you your training gear and a spot in the food line. But if you volunteered, the arrangement is even weirder. You willingly signed a contract, in ink, on paper, the kind with clauses. You gave up legal freedom in exchange for money, housing, food, and the chance to someday be stabbed while thousands cheer. Volunteers are called octorati. They get a bonus up front, which sounds nice until you realize it is basically a tip for putting yourself on layaway. Maybe you had debts. Maybe you were hungry. Maybe you just had the wrong kind of confidence. Some people join a gym. You joined a blood sport. The application process did not involve a personality test, but maybe it should have. But once you are here, it does not really matter how you got in. Whether you were bought or signed up, the day looks the same. You train, you sweat, you follow orders, and if you are lucky, you get to keep doing it. The lanista owns your contract. That means he owns your schedule, your diet, your gear, and possibly your soul, depending on how the paperwork was worded. You are now a gladiator, which sounds glamorous until you realize it involves a lot of sore knees and very little personal space. In quiet moments, you sometimes wonder which is worse, being dragged into this life without choice, or waking up one day and realizing you chose it. Slaves know they were forced. Volunteers get the full horror of self-awareness. You remember the signing bonus and wonder if it's still sitting in someone else's purse while you practice dodging spears. The lines between status blur fast. Everyone bleeds. Everyone gets yelled at. Everyone stares at the same bowl of barley stew and pretends it's exciting. You might train next to someone you'll fight one day, or someone who used to be free and now looks more resigned than the condemned man beside him. Status fades, reputation, skill, survival. Those are the currencies now. Still, there is pride here, a rough kind. You show up, you endure, you train until your arms shake, and someone notices. Maybe it's the trainer, maybe it's a fellow fighter, Maybe one day it will be a senator in the crowd shouting your name between bites of sausage. You are part athlete, part performer, part ghost story told to children who complain about chores. Soon you hear the lanista, the owner and operator of this whole operation, moving through the corridors like a man doing inventory. To him, you are not just a person, you are an investment with muscles, and he would prefer his investment not to leak too much. He can be harsh, but he also wants you healthy, which is the most unsettling kind of care. Imagine your boss being strict because they are trying to protect you, and also because they bought you. Rome was nothing if not creatively confusing. You hear his voice before you see him, sharp and efficient, barking instructions, inspecting men like livestock with gym memberships. He is your manager, your trainer, your HR department, and your debt collector, all rolled into one. But he is not your friend. He is a businessman, and your performance is a financial product. Your survival helps his bottom line. Your death might help it too, depending on the timing. Dying early is a loss. Dying dramatically in front of a Roman senator's spoiled child during their birthday. That is what you call a good return on investment. He walks with the confidence of someone who always gets the last word, even if he has to shout it over a dying man. Assistants trail behind him, armed with tablets, scrolls, and that distinct Roman look of judgment. You are on one of those scrolls, maybe your name, maybe your stats. Either way, it means someone is watching you with a pen in their hand, which is never a great feeling when you already woke up sore. The lanista stops, looks at you, squints, maybe grunts, maybe says something about how your left leg seems lazy today. You try to look more alert without looking too eager, like a child pretending they understood their math homework. You never really know what he's thinking, and it is not safe to ask. If you're injured, he wants to know how badly. If you're getting stronger, he wants to know how quickly. If you look tired, he will wonder why he is feeding someone who naps like a poet. He may favour certain fighters, not out of love, out of marketing, the ones with flair, charisma, scars in the right places. That rare thing called marketability that makes nobles lean forward in their seats and yell louder. That is ancient Rome's version of a brand deal. You keep your eyes forward, do not slouch, do not fidget. The lanista does not like uncertainty. He likes numbers. He likes stats. He likes control. If you are underperforming, he might double your training or switch your sparring partner to someone whose hobbies include dismemberment. If you're doing well, he might let you sleep an extra hour, which is the Roman equivalent of a corporate pizza party. Some lanistae were kind, or at least strategic. Better food, a real medic, less screaming. Others ruled with fear and threats of public humiliation. You are not entirely sure where yours falls, but he has not yelled directly at you today, and that feels like a small personal victory. You cling to those like a man clings to the side of a fast-moving chariot. Then he's gone. His voice fades down the hall, already criticizing someone else's posture. You breathe out. The air tastes like oil, old sweat, and relief. He will be back. He always comes back. And next time, you will try to look just a little more prepared, a little more valuable. Because in the end, that is your job. Not just to fight, but to look like someone worth betting on. It is time for breakfast, which arrives with the emotional warmth of a tax form. You eat a bowl of barley porridge, maybe with beans, maybe with a little salt, and you chew like someone trying to build armour out of carbohydrates. Gladiators were sometimes nicknamed barley men because this was a common diet, meant to fuel training and add body mass. You eat steadily because you will need energy, and because hunger is not a fun companion when someone hands you a shield. The porridge is lukewarm and has the texture of wet rope. It clings to your spoon, your bowl, and your dignity. It is not so much food as it is a message. You are here to survive, not to enjoy yourself. You chew each bite like it wronged your family. No one eats it quickly, not because of etiquette, but because the stomach deserves a moment to brace for impact. It tastes like commitment, like a slow, gritty surrender to the day ahead. You sit on a bench with other fighters, shoulder to shoulder, all hunched over identical bowls. The air smells faintly of oil, smoke, and morning breath. Conversation is minimal. It is too early for jokes and too late to pretend you're anywhere else. A man next to you is eating like he's in a race. Another stares blankly at his porridge like it whispered a dark secret. Everyone is coping in their own way. Once in a while, the kitchen staff tries something new, a splash of oil, a pinch of herbs. One time they put a fig in someone's bowl and the entire ludus talked about it for a week. It was like winning the lottery, except the prize was soft fruit. But most mornings it is barley. Barley today, barley tomorrow, barley until the end of time. The Romans loved barley for gladiators. It was cheap, filling, and helped bulk up the body. It also made you impressively gassy, which no one talks about, but everyone notices. You eat in silence, ears tuned to the background noise of the ludus coming alive. Sandals scuff the stone, gear clinks. Somewhere someone is already grunting dramatically while stretching like a man auditioning for a tragedy. It is not peaceful, but it is familiar. You take another bite. It tastes like endurance, like calories disguised as punishment. You think sometimes about other foods, honeyed bread, roasted meat, a fruit that did not come with a lecture. You remember passing a senator's house once, where the scent of spiced lamb drifted out onto the street and nearly made you weep. But you do not get lamb, you get barley. Because barley is reliable, filling, and no one cries when you spill it. Barley does not have a lobbyist. Still, there is comfort in the routine. It might be bland, but it is consistent. And in this life, where everything else can shift with one bad fight or a nod from the lanista, consistency is its own strange luxury. You know what breakfast is. You know what it does. It anchors you to the day. You finish the last bite, scrape the bowl clean, and set it aside with the resignation of someone who knows lunch will look exactly the same. Around you, others are doing the same. One man belches without shame. Someone else cracks their neck and mutters something about stretching. You wipe your mouth with your arm because napkins are myths, and you rise slowly. Your stomach is full but not satisfied. Your body is fueled but already aching. Breakfast has done its job. It was not fun. It was not tasty. But it got you to the next moment. And in the world of the ludus, that is enough. After eating, you reach for water, and it is not your personal water because personal anything is a rare concept here. Cups get passed. Jugs get refilled, and everyone pretends not to notice who coughed first. Hydration is important, even if the method is unsettling. You tell yourself that you have survived worse, and then you remember you have not yet survived today. The water is cool, but has a faint metallic tang. It comes from a large clay jug that has known too many hands and too few scrubbings. There is usually one wooden cup, maybe two, and they travel from person to person like a poorly planned trust exercise. You drink because you must. The The sun is already rising and sweat is already forming, and no one performs well dehydrated. You try not to think about who drank before you, or what might still be floating in there. You take a sip and feel it hit your stomach with a dull splash. The cup is smooth from years of use and rough handling. You look at it briefly, pretending you're not inspecting it for mystery substances, and pass it along. The man next to you nods, takes his turn, doesn't speak. No one does. It is too early in the day for conversation and too intimate an act to make eye contact. Everything here is shared. Water, towels, sickness. If one man wakes up with a cough, you can expect half the ludus to sound like dying goats by the end of the week. But there are no sick days. You train unless you are bleeding from an artery or physically unconscious. And even then, someone might still nudge you back to your feet, just so they can use your weight for resistance training. Sometimes someone wipes the rim of the cup with their sleeve before passing it on. It's a nice gesture, useless, but nice. Others just drink and hand it over like this is a normal part of civilized life. You do not judge. You did the same thing yesterday. You will do the same thing tomorrow. Your immune system no longer runs on logic. It runs on spite and stubbornness. The man beside you might be an enslaved fighter taken in war, or a volunteer who needed money fast, or someone who really misunderstood what career change meant. You do not know his story. You do not need to. Here, you all live the same script. Train, eat, hydrate, survive, in that order. Friendship, if it comes at all, arrives quietly. Usually after someone bleeds on you and apologizes, you glance at the jug, nearly empty. One of the younger assistants lifts it and heads toward the cistern to refill it. You hope, without much faith, that the cistern is clean and rat-free. You hope a lot of things. That today is not the day you pull a muscle, that your stomach holds, that your helmet strap does not snap in the middle of a drill. You hope quietly, because out loud sounds too much like tempting fate. Water is not just hydration here. It is routine. It is rhythm. It is part of the invisible thread that binds the ludus together. Passed from fighter to fighter, warmed by too many hands, it becomes an unspoken pact. A sign that no matter where you came from, you are now here, together, drinking from the same jug, preparing for the same battles, and facing the same uncertain crowd. Whether they cheer for you or not is irrelevant. What matters is that today you are still standing, and still thirsty. Before training truly begins, you might pass the area where the medicus works, a doctor attached to the school, because keeping fighters alive is good business. Treatments exist, bandages exist, and there are tools you do not want to recognize. You feel a strange comfort knowing someone here understands injuries, even if their idea of pain relief is probably wine and optimism. Rome could be brutal, but it was not careless in the way it managed valuable bodies. The medicus is usually hunched over a table, hands stained with whatever injury he just handled. Herbs hang from strings above him, clay pots line the shelves, and the tools laid out look less like medical supplies and more like props from a horror play. You nod as you walk past, not in greeting but in polite fear. He does not nod back. He is usually busy sewing someone's arm closed with the urgency of a man trying to beat the lunch bell. There are no privacy curtains, no soft background music, no gentle lighting. You get hurt, you get treated. Right there, in front of everyone. The rest of the men try not to look, but everyone listens. You always know when someone's getting something reset because the sound is usually followed by a high-pitched yell and some of the most creative profanity in the Latin language. The tools are grim: bronze scalpels, hooks, bone drills, a saw that might be decorative but probably isn't, tweezers for pulling out splinters, thorns, and the occasional unlucky bit of someone else's weapon. Nothing here is sterilized, but it is wiped down with a damp cloth and a sense of ancient optimism. Some tools get heated over a brazier, not for your comfort, for his peace of mind. The medicus has two favourite things. One is wine, the other is telling you to stop whining. If you get a deep cut, he pours wine on it, offers you a sip, then starts stitching while you try to stay still and not pass out. If he likes you, he gives you a second sip before he begins. If he doesn't like you, he skips that step and tells you to bite down on your own hand. Despite it all, you are strangely thankful he's here. His job is to keep you training and, more importantly, keep you profitable. You are not a person in this system. You are a unit of value, a line on someone's parchment. The better your body works, the more you're worth. So he patches you up like a cracked bowl someone still wants to serve food in. There are rumours, of course, that he was once a field medic in the legions, stitching soldiers in swampy camps, that he once operated on a senator's son using a sharpened hairpin and vinegar, that he pulled a spear out of his own leg and kept walking. You don't ask him questions. You don't speak unless he speaks. If he gives you a salve, you apply it. If it smells like old onions and bear fat, you pretend it doesn't. As you pass his corner, you walk straight, arms swinging, back upright. To look injured is to get noticed. To get noticed is to get treated, and to get treated means pain, paperwork, or worse. A mandatory rest day that somehow ends with double drills. Still, you are glad he is there, because one day, maybe soon, you will limp in bleeding or broken, and he will sigh, pour wine, and fix you. Not because he cares, but because you are worth something. Now you move into warm-up, the part of the day where you pretend your muscles are not screaming and you lie to yourself with confidence. You stretch, you jog, you loosen joints, and you try not to look at the veterans who move like machines. Training is structured, repetitive, and serious. There is no casual workout here, no gentle fitness journey, only preparation for a job interview where the interviewer has a spear. You begin with a light jog around the yard. At least it is called light. To your legs it feels like a betrayal. Your knees pop, your ankles crack, your spine has a few complaints of its own. The ground is a mix of packed dirt and sand, not hard enough to hurt, but not soft enough to hide how much you would rather be lying down. The sun is climbing fast, and your tunic is already starting to cling like a needy friend. Then come the stretches, arms overhead, bending at the waist, rotating shoulders. You move through each position like someone trying to remember how to be a person. Your hamstrings protest, and your back issues a quiet legal notice. The doctor walks by slowly, scanning the line for weakness. You stretch deeper, just in case. The man next to you groans under his breath. You ignore him. Everyone here is pretending to be fine. Warm-up is not optional. Warm muscles tear less than cold ones, and gladiators are expensive. You swing your arms, roll your shoulders, shift your weight from foot to foot. The trainers call out a rhythm. You move with the group, just trying not to stand out. Your brain goes on autopilot. Your body continues because that is what bodies do here. Keep moving. Don't stop. Some men start shadow boxing. Others move through footwork drills. You catch yourself counting your steps just to stay focused. The veterans glide across the sand like they were born doing this. You try to copy them without looking like you are copying them. It doesn't work. They notice anyway. This is not a warm-up for aesthetics. No one here is prepping for a toga shoot. This is a warm-up for impact, for survival, for the arena, where one wrong step could mean your last. There is no inner peace here. No meditative breath work. Just sweat, sore muscles, and the fear that if you fall behind, you will be asked to explain yourself. Loudly, in front of everyone. The heat builds. Sweat beads at your temples and slides down your back. Your thighs are already sore and your arms swing with more determination than grace. But you push through, because stopping would mean attention, and attention leads to questions. Are you hurt? Are you soft? Are you going to cost someone money? You stretch again, deeper this time, and tell your hamstring to shut up and get in line. Eventually, the trainers call it. Warm-up is done. You are not comfortable, but you are mobile. You are not rested, but you are ready enough. And that is the entire goal. You shake out your arms, roll your neck, brace yourself, because now comes the real part. The drills, the bruises, the shouting. The part where wooden weapons feel like iron, and footwork means avoiding someone else's bad morning. You glance around, everyone else is blinking sweat out of their eyes too. Different men, different reasons for being here, but in this exact moment, you are all the same. Exhausted, alert, and about to get hit with something. You take a deep breath and step forward. Not because you feel strong, but because this is what you do now. A trainer, often called a doctory, watches you with the calm expression of someone who has already seen you fail in advance. He corrects posture, stance, grip, and attitude. He is not cruel for fun. He is strict because a small mistake in the arena can become a public funeral. You listen closely, because this is the closest thing you have to a safety net, and it comes with yelling. The doctor does not smile. He does not ask how you slept. He walks through the yard like a man inspecting weapons, not people. His gaze lands on you and you feel it before he says a word. Sometimes he doesn't speak. He just adjusts your wrist or knocks your knee with a staff. It is jarring and educational, like being corrected by someone who once fought lions before breakfast. He has trained hundreds of men, maybe thousands. He watches you swing too high and you catch the faintest eyebrow twitch. You drop your elbow and he exhales through his nose like your incompetence personally offends him. He does not yell to humiliate. He yells to make sure you remember that next time there may not be time to fix it. There is no room for ego here. The doctor removes it from you early, like a splinter that could get infected. He is not here to build your confidence. He is here to build your reactions. You grip too tight. He says it is wrong. You loosen too much. Also wrong. Eventually you find the right balance. He says nothing. That silence is praise. You treat it like gold. He drills you on footwork. Again and again. Forward, back, left, pivot, hold, repeat. You're not here to express yourself. You're here to function like a weapon someone else can point at a problem. Thinking is not your job. Surviving is. One bad habit and you are bleeding in front of 10,000 people holding bread and sausages. So when he tells you to do something for the 30th time, you do it. Not because you love training, because you love the idea of staying conscious for more than 10 seconds in your next match. The doctor rarely raises his voice, but when he does, it slices through the yard like a thrown dagger. The chatter stops. Everyone listens. Not out of fear exactly, but because ignoring him is like ignoring an earthquake. He does not waste words. Adjust. Again. Keep your feet under you. Watch your left. When he uses a full sentence, it usually stings more than a slap. No one knows much about his past. Some say he fought in the Colosseum. Others say he won his freedom and came back just to train men who would not last half as long. Some say he once defeated 3 men in a single match. It could be true. It could be myth. It doesn't matter. He is here. He is in charge. You learn quickly that if he repeats himself, it is going to hurt. You begin drills with wooden weapons because Rome understood the basic idea that stabbing your co-workers before lunch is not ideal. The wooden sword feels lighter than the real thing, but your arms still burn. You practice footwork, distance, timing, and control. Every movement is drilled until it becomes automatic, because panic is not a strategy, and neither is flailing. The weapon is called a rudis. It may be made of wood, but it hits like it has something to prove. The surface is worn smooth from years of use, but the weight still punishes your shoulders. A blow to the ribs is less fatal, but just as motivating. The doctor watches everything. If your grip is off, he adjusts it. If your swing is sloppy, he lets you know. Sometimes with words, sometimes with a very personal correction to your kneecap. You drill in pairs, step, swing, block, reset, over and over. It feels more like choreography than combat, but with a higher chance of getting bruised mid-performance. Your partner is just as exhausted as you are. But that doesn't stop either of you from trying to impress the trainer while simultaneously avoiding a visit to the medicus. No one here wants to be known as the guy who got a concussion from a wooden stick. Even without an edge, the weapon demands respect. These drills are not meant to make you look good. They are meant to make sure your instincts are faster than your thoughts. If you drop your guard, you get tapped in the head. Not hard enough to injure, just hard enough to ruin your ego for the rest of the day. You are taught sequences. Parry with your left, strike with your right, pivot, step back, repeat, then again, until your arms ache and your brain stops bothering to help. The idea is to burn the movements into your muscles so they respond before you even realize you are in danger. Thinking gets you killed. Reflexes might save you. Your tunic sticks to your back. Your palms are starting to blister. Your thighs are burning, and your breath feels like it is on a 5-second delay. You do not complain. This is normal. This is part of the process. The trainers walk among you, correcting form, offering advice, and occasionally threatening to replace your limbs with something that listens better. Some men grunt with each strike. Others stay quiet. Everyone sweats. You hear wood hitting wood, feet scuffing in the sand, and the occasional sharp bark from a trainer when someone gets too creative with their swing. Once in a while, someone hits too hard. The noise is unmistakable. Everyone flinches. The trainers are there instantly. There are no excuses for making someone bleed during wooden drills. That is not training. That is liability. Fatigue creeps in quickly. Your form slips. Your balance gets lazy. You try to keep your breathing steady, but your chest is heaving. The doctora tells everyone to switch partners, and you nod like a man who has recently forgotten how arms work. The new partner is taller, faster. You brace yourself, but something is different. You are blocking better, moving smoother. Your feet remember where to go. Your body is adjusting. You're not good, not yet, but you are less bad. The doctor passes by without saying a word. That is as good as applause. As training continues, you become more aware of your armatura, the fighting style and equipment set you are being shaped into. Maybe you're a Mamillo with a heavy helmet and shield, or a Thrax with a curved sword, or a Secutor built to chase a net fighter. Each type has strengths and weaknesses, and matchups are designed to be exciting. It is like being assigned a role in a play, except the reviews are loud and the stage is sand. The trainers size you up like butchers choosing cuts of meat. They measure your reach, your stamina, how you move, how you react, and how well you take criticism shouted directly into your soul. You do not choose your fighting style. It is assigned to you, like bad seating at a banquet. Once they decide what you are, that is what you train as. Congratulations, you are now a specialized tool. If you're big and built like a cart horse, you are likely a Mimillo. Your helmet will be massive, your sword short, and your shield the size of a small door. Your job is to soak up punishment and keep moving. You look terrifying, but move like a man trying to sprint through syrup. If you enjoy sweating under 40 pounds of bronze, this role is for you. If you're smaller, quicker, more agile, you might be cast as a Thrax. You get a curved sword, a small rectangular shield, and armor that protects everything except your comfort. You bounce around the arena, trying to slice at weak points while avoiding a shield bash that could rearrange your skeleton. It is exhausting, but at least you have better footwork. Then there is the Secutor, smooth helmet, tiny eye holes, built to chase down the Retiarius, who fights with a net and a trident and dresses like someone who forgot half his armor at home. Your job is to close distance, block flying nets, and not trip over your own feet in the sand. The helmet is so limited you can barely see, but at least you look aerodynamic. The Retiarius is the wild card. No helmet, little armor, just a net, a trident, and a very strong hope that no one catches him. He dances around the arena like an angry fisherman and frustrates everyone by being hard to hit. If you are fast, clever, and slightly dramatic, you might get assigned to this role. Also, be prepared to look completely ridiculous. There are other roles too. The Hoplomachus with his spear and small round shield, the Democeras with 2 swords, the Provocator with a breastplate and a more traditional setup. Each one exists for variety. The audience wants contrast. Fast against slow, heavy against nimble, sword against spear. Nobody cheers for symmetry. They want a show. Your armatura is not just functional, it is theatrical. Your armor becomes your identity. Your fighting style becomes your brand. People in the crowd will know your type before they know your name. They will cheer for the style they like, or boo it loudly. Either way, they are watching, and that is the whole point. You grow into the role. At first, the shield feels like a punishment. The helmet feels like a furnace. But over time, you adjust. You stop fighting the gear and start working with it. Your movements sharpen. You begin to feel like a version of the fighter they want you to be. The yard itself is its own character. Dusty ground, wooden posts, racks of gear, and the constant slap of wood on wood. The sun climbs, sweat runs down your back, and you hear grunts that could be effort or existential dread. You strike a post again and again, learning where power comes from. Somewhere a man laughs, not because it is funny, but because the body sometimes needs to release stress in any way it can. The ground is hard and hot, the kind of packed earth that has soaked up years of footprints, blood, and forgotten hopes. Sand kicks up with every step. It gets in your sandals, your mouth, your eyes. There is no shade unless you count the vague mercy of passing clouds, which do absolutely nothing. The heat is aggressive. The sun watches you like it is waiting for you to fail, and frankly, it would like that to happen before lunch. Everything here smells like effort. Sweat, leather, dust, the faint hint of metal from the gear racks, and occasionally something less identifiable that may or may not be coming from the armor pile. There are rows of wooden posts planted firmly into the earth, scarred and cracked from years of punishment. You strike one, again and again, not because it deserves it, but because it does not fight back, and you need the practice. The noise never stops. Wood hitting wood, sand grinding under feet, someone shouting, someone grunting, the distant snap of a staff correcting someone's bad posture. It is not music, but there is rhythm, and in that rhythm you find something close to focus. You block out everything else and let your body do what it is learning to do. Move, breathe, swing, repeat. Other fighters move around you, each lost in their own battle with technique and exhaustion. One man is practicing footwork, shuffling and pivoting like the ground is on fire. Another drills combinations with such intensity that you wonder if he's trying to fight his past. A veteran nearby glides through drills with the calm efficiency of someone who no longer needs to think. You try not to stare, but you do. Everyone does. You want to be like that. Not perfect, just competent. Trainers pass through, watching, correcting, occasionally barking something short and sharp. You straighten your spine when they get close, fix your grip, adjust your stance. Even if they are not looking directly at you, you feel their presence like heat on your neck. Nobody wants to be the reason the drill stops. Nobody wants to be the example of what not to do. Again. You pause to breathe, only to realize your body has been holding tension in your shoulders since sunrise. You shake out your arms, stretch your back. The sweat makes your tunic cling like regret. Your hands are sore from gripping the weapon. Your thighs ache from too many squats disguised as stances. You drink a little water from a shared jug and try not to think about how many people have touched it. Then you go back to the post, to the rhythm. You swing again, not with anger, with discipline. You feel your movements tightening, not perfect, but better. Your hits sound different now, less wild, more controlled. The post is still standing, of course, but so are you, and sometimes that is enough. Someone drops a weapon nearby with a loud clatter followed by a muttered curse. You glance over, just briefly, then you keep going. Everyone here is dealing with something. You return to your work, to the sand, the sweat, the sound of training. The yard asks for everything you have, and you give it, because this is where gladiators are made, or broken, often both. Even here there are rules, not for kindness, but for control. You do not fight like a street brawl. You fight with technique, with form, with an understanding of what the crowd wants to see. You learn when to attack, when to pause, when to show skill. Rome sells spectacle, and you are part athlete, part performer, part warning label. There is a system to everything. The way you hold your weapon, the way you enter the arena, the way you fall when hit. You are not here to be wild. You are here to be effective, to be presentable, to be profitable. The Lanista reminds you that the crowd does not pay to watch chaos. They pay to watch talent. Violence is expected, but it has to be elegant, predictable enough to cheer for, dangerous enough to be thrilling. You are trained to deliver both. The rules vary depending on the match, the venue, and the mood of whoever is in charge that day. Sometimes it is to first blood. sometimes to surrender, sometimes until someone stops breathing. You do not get to choose which, but the structure remains. You cannot kill someone after they fall. You cannot attack before the signal. You cannot refuse to fight unless you are prepared for punishment worse than the match itself. Discipline is what separates you from the mobs outside the arena. That, and significantly more core strength. The doctor drills it into you. Control your strikes, control your breathing. Show strength, yes, but also awareness. A skilled fighter who knows when to pause, when to make the crowd lean forward, earns more than the one who flails like a panicked chicken. The best gladiators are performers, artists in armor. Their blood is real, but their timing is stage-worthy. You are learning that now, whether you wanted to or not. You spar and a trainer stops you mid-swing. Too fast, no pause. The crowd won't follow. You reset. Try again. This time, a feint first, then a strike. It feels theatrical. It feels fake. But when you land the blow and hear a low grunt of approval, you start to understand. This is not just about winning. It is about being watched. And being watched means you are remembered. And being remembered means you might live longer. Discipline also means knowing when to lose. Sometimes the match is arranged. Sometimes one of you is meant to win. If it is not you, then you're expected to fall with grace, without complaint, and make the other man look good. Pride will not save you. Following the script might. The crowd will not know. Or if they do, they will not care. They just want a show. You start to learn how to read a crowd, when they lean in, when they grow quiet, when they cheer for blood and when they cheer for mercy. You learn that hesitation is punished, but so is rushing. You learn that the man who bows before the match and dies well after it is often spoken of longer than the one who survives by stumbling through it. Reputation matters here, almost as much as skill. And behind all this, there is the rule that matters most. Stay useful. If you cannot follow the system, you are not entertaining. If you are not entertaining, you are a problem. And problems in Rome are dealt with quickly and often permanently. You fight to survive, but you also perform to survive. So you listen, you learn, you adjust. And as strange as it is, you begin to enjoy the structure, the rituals, the strange logic of controlled violence. Because in a world that demands your blood, it is comforting to know there is at least a rhythm to when and how they want it spilled. At some point there is a break, and you sit down, breathing hard, trying to recover without collapsing like a dropped loaf of bread. Someone offers a joke. Someone offers advice. Someone offers silence. You feel the ache in your shoulders and the sand on your skin. Rest is brief, because the schedule is a machine, and you're inside it. You sit on the edge of the training yard, legs out, elbows resting on your knees. Your chest rises and falls like bellows, and you wonder if your lungs are staging a quiet protest. The ground is warm, the sun higher now, and every part of you feels slightly cooked. You wipe sweat from your face with your forearm, which is a little like trying to dry a wet towel using a second wet towel. Around you, other fighters are sprawled in the sand like exhausted animals pretending they are still proud. Some lie flat, some sit hunched. A few stretch with the haunted look of men who know what comes next. One guy leans against a post, staring at nothing in particular, like he's doing complicated math in his head. Another sharpens a wooden practice blade, because apparently he does not believe in relaxing. You hear someone laugh, a real laugh, Short and dry, like a man who just remembered something stupid from a past life. A trainer yells something in the distance, but it's not directed at you, so you pretend not to hear it. A few men murmur to each other. A few sip water from a shared jug. No one talks much. Not because you are not allowed to, just because no one has the energy. Your legs are twitching from the morning drills. Your forearms are tight. Your lower back feels like it wants to be a full-time complaint. You stretch a little, but it feels more like rearranging the pain than relieving it. You take a deep breath. The air tastes like dust and old sweat with a faint aftertaste of humility. The break is not long. You know that. Everyone knows that. It is just enough time to let your body cool down slightly and your brain reboot. It is not designed to restore you. It is designed to make sure you don't pass out in the middle of your next drill. In the world of gladiators, recovery is more of a theory than a policy. You take a sip of water. It is warm and shared, but it helps. You look up at the sky, where the sun is already judging you. You wonder if you are halfway through the day, but you know the truth. You are not even close. This is the mid-morning break. The first pause. The first cruel reminder that time is moving, but not moving fast enough. You think about food. Not because you are hungry yet, but because imagining lunch is the emotional support you need. Barley and beans never sounded so good. You think about a bath. A real one. Maybe with oil and scraping and less sand. You think about sleeping for 3 days in a row. But you also know that in about 5 minutes, you will be holding a weapon again, pretending to feel fine. A trainer claps his hands. The break is over. The yard begins to move again. Men rise slowly, like old statues being convinced to walk. You groan without meaning to. Your knees crack. Your arms feel like they belong to someone else, someone you do not like very much. You stand up, not because you want to, but because the machine is still running, and you are still inside it. Bruised, sweaty, and very aware that this was the easiest part of the day. You look around at the other gladiators, and you see rivals, brothers, strangers, and mirrors. Many of you come from different places, different languages, different lives. Yet here you share routine, pain, and the weird closeness of training side by side. In another world you might have been neighbours. In this one you might one day be paired to fight, which adds a thrilling edge to small talk. There is a strange honesty in sweat. When you train beside someone long enough, watching them stumble, bleed, or weep silently into their barley, you stop seeing their past and start seeing their present. Not the name they gave when they arrived, not the reason they ended up here, just the version of them who is still standing at the end of the drill, and they see you the same way. Nobody brags much. You cannot fake strength when everyone saw you drop your sword during footwork. You cannot bluff toughness when someone watched you flinch at the mention of your next match. Pride runs off in the sweat. What stays is respect. It grows quietly, the way moss grows on stone. You do not notice it right away. But it becomes something solid. Some bonds form quickly. You share a joke with the man next to you, even if you barely speak the same language. Someone shares half a dried fig without being asked. Another man helps you adjust your gear when your strap breaks. Small kindnesses born from shared misery. Nobody here has much to give, but they give what they can. A glance, a grunt, a nod that says, "I saw that too and it was terrible, but we are still here." But not everyone is friendly. Some are silent. Others hold resentment like a blade they cannot put down. One man believes the trainers favour someone else. Another pushes too hard in every drill because he knows there is nowhere left for him to go. There are rivalries, and always quietly, there is the truth that one day you might face each other in the sand. One of you might not walk away. You think about that. The idea that the man who just shared water with you might one day be holding a sword pointed at your chest. You wonder what you would do. Then you wonder what he would. Then you stop thinking about it because your trainer is yelling again and your stance is still wrong. There is freedom in the honesty of this place. You do not have to be liked. You do not have to be charming. These men are not here to make friends. They are here to survive. And that shared goal, that quiet understanding, forms something stronger than most friendships built on comfort ever could. You do not need to know a man's story to appreciate the way he helped you up after a bad fall. You do not need a shared childhood to understand the look in his eyes when he finally lands a clean strike. You just need to keep showing up. And so do they. The Lanista watches all of it. The alliances, the tensions, the loyalty. Sometimes he encourages it. Sometimes he cuts it off. He does not want you too close, but not too distant either. A little competition keeps you sharp. Too much, and it becomes a problem. Problems are handled quickly, so you share what you can. A drink of water, a joke, a moment of quiet. You all train on the same dirt under the same sun, bruised and sore and hoping for another tomorrow. You are not friends, not exactly, but you are not alone. And in this place, that counts for more than you ever expected. Lunch arrives, and once again you meet your old friend Barley and Legumes. It is not glamorous, but it is fuel. You eat slowly, listening to the small sounds of the school, footsteps, chatter, a distant clank of metal. In a strange way, this plain food becomes comforting because it means today is still normal, and normal means you are still alive. The bowl is warm in your hands, and the smell is exactly what you expect. Earthy, a little bitter, like boiled effort. Barley, cooked until soft, but still somehow a challenge. Beans, doing their best. If you're lucky, there is a hint of olive oil or a vague leaf pretending to be seasoning, but it is food. It is hot. It works. You chew slowly. Your jaw is tired from training and from being part of a body that has been flung around all morning. A man nearby slurps with the enthusiasm of someone who has stopped imagining meals with flavour. Another man stares into his bowl like he is hoping for a plot twist. No one rushes. There is nothing waiting on the other side of this meal except more sweat and repetition. Lunch does not mark the halfway point in time, but in spirit. It is the checkpoint. If you are eating, you made it through the first half of the day without collapsing. That is a quiet win. You feel your arms pulsing, your legs tired, and your back whispering threats. But you are sitting. You are upright, and you are eating barley again. This, apparently, is what victory looks like. The group around you chews in silence. Occasionally someone mumbles a comment about the drills, a sore joint, or how many blisters have joined the party since morning. These are not real conversations, just the noises humans make to remind each other they still exist. Somewhere nearby, metal scrapes on stone. A dog barks once and is told off by a sharp voice. The sun beats down with unnecessary confidence. You shift in place, trying to find a comfortable position on ground that is entirely too sandy to be considered seating. You wipe the last of the beans with a crust of bread. The bread is not so much stale as committed to its crunch. You chew it anyway, because it is either this or chewing on your own regrets. A man next to you lets out a sigh that turns into a burp. then shrugs without apology. You respond with your own shrug. No one is judging. Everyone is digesting. A few men lie down on the ground, arms behind heads, eyes half closed. One hums quietly. One mutters something in a language you do not know. You sit still for another moment, letting your stomach decide if it wants to accept what just happened. Then you dust your hands off on your tunic and slowly rise. There is a rhythm to this, a strange peace. The food is bad, but it is predictable. In a place where so much is uncertain, a bowl of barley and beans feels almost luxurious. You know what it is. You know what comes next. You are not special, but you are full. You carry your bowl back, place it with the others, and stretch until your spine makes a noise that is either approval or warning. You roll your shoulders, flex your fingers. The break is ending. You can feel it in the air like the calm before an incoming sandstorm. After eating, there is a moment where the body insists on rest. You lie down, or sit, or lean against a wall, and your eyelids get heavy. You can hear others settling too, the soft human noises of a place full of tired men. This is not luxury, but it is recovery, and recovery is survival. You drift for a few minutes, as if sleep is a small rebellion you're allowed to have. The spot you choose is whatever piece of ground doesn't poke back. A bit of shade, maybe a crack in the wall that blocks the sun, maybe just the ground next to where you finished eating. There are no pillows, no mats, just dirt, a wall and gravity working together to help you forget, just briefly, that your legs still feel like overcooked rope. You shift until your spine complains a little less, and your head stops lolling. Around you, others are collapsing into similar positions. One lies flat on his back, arms flung out like a man who has given up on dignity. Another curls into himself, head resting on folded arms. Someone snores. Someone else swears at him, then immediately falls asleep anyway. This isn't sleep the way you remember it. This is functional unconsciousness. A pause. A moment to pretend your body is a place you'd like to live again someday. The kind of rest that doesn't heal but just slows the damage. And yet, it works. In a strange way, it helps. You hear the quiet sounds of other people trying to pretend they are somewhere else. A cough, the scrape of a sandal against stone, breathing, always breathing, slow, rhythmic, like waves on a beach you will probably never see again. It is peaceful, ugly, human. You drift but do not dream. Just float. Thought dissolves. You are still aware of the heat, the way the sun shifts slightly on your face, the pressure of your gear digging into your ribs, but it all becomes background, like being underwater, or listening to a story that someone else is in. Your mind wanders, not far, just enough to bump into things you forgot you remembered. A girl who once handed you bread, a dog that used to follow you home, the sound of waves, your first fight, the first time you realized a helmet makes breathing harder. Your brain flips through these things like a bored librarian, not stopping for long, not needing meaning. Eventually time catches up. A shadow moves. A man groans. Somewhere, a voice yells. You open one eye, blink, then both. Your body feels heavier, but also slightly less cursed. You stretch, if you're brave, and your joints argue about it. Then, slowly, you sit up. No one says anything right away. This is the most sacred silence you get. One man grunts as he stands. Another pops his neck with a noise like splitting wood. You nod at no one in particular because acknowledging that rest happened is the closest thing you get to gratitude around here. You brush dirt from your arm. Your shirt sticks to your back. There is still sand in your boot, but for a few minutes you forgot about all of that. You were just a person. Now you remember. You are not just a person. You are a gladiator. Later, bathing enters the schedule because sweat is constant and hygiene is practical, even if privacy is not. Water is poured, sweat is scraped, oil is rubbed on, and you try to act like this is all completely normal. In Rome, bathing culture is important, and athletes often use oil and a scraper to clean the skin. You relax into it, because you cannot be tense forever, and because your muscles are basically begging for mercy. You begin by stripping down in a room that does not care about modesty. There are no curtains, no partitions, just you and a collection of equally tired men trying not to make eye contact while applying olive oil to their own shoulders. This is not intimacy. It is logistics. Everyone smells, everyone aches, and everyone wants to be less sticky. The oil goes on first. It is not fancy. It is not scented. It is not part of a spa experience. It is just plain olive oil, rubbed into the skin to lift off the grime. You massage it into your arms, chest, legs, anywhere you feel like a layer of salt and regret has formed. Your hands slide over bruises, tight spots, old scrapes. Everything hurts a little, but in a way that feels like maintenance, not collapse. Then comes the striggle, a curved metal scraper that looks like something you would use on a horse. You run it along your skin, scraping off the oil, the sweat, the dust, and whatever else has glued itself to your body during training. It is not painful, exactly, but it is intense. Like exfoliating with a kitchen utensil. You scrape your chest, arms, back if you can reach it, legs. You do it quickly, because lingering makes it weird and you are already too aware of how many eyes are in the room. The water is poured after, lukewarm at best, cold if you are unlucky. You stand there as someone tips a jug over you, and you gasp a little, but you let it happen. The water runs down your back, washing away whatever the scraper left behind. It feels like rinsing off a layer of battle. You are still sore, still stiff, but now you are clean. Some men joke during the process. Others stay silent. The lanista watches, or doesn't. It does not matter. Bathing is part of the routine, not a treat, not a reward, just another function of staying alive and presentable enough to be publicly bruised in front of an audience. You towel off with a cloth that might have once been soft. It now has the consistency of old rope. You dry quickly, patting more than rubbing, because your skin is tired and your patience is thinner than your sandals. Once dry, you reapply a small layer of oil, this time for your skin to hold on to some softness before the next round of grit and combat. You dress again in your tunic, which now feels slightly less gross. Not clean exactly, just less hostile. Your body feels lighter, not by much, but enough to move without the sensation of being dipped in glue. The act of scraping and rinsing has shaken off the outer crust of exhaustion. You step out into the open air again, skin tingling, muscles loosening, the faint scent of olive oil trailing behind you like a very mild cologne. You are still sore, still sunburned in places, but something in you has reset. A quiet refresh. And for a brief moment before someone shouts the next command, you feel like you might be human again. Someone works on your sore limbs, kneading muscles that feel like they have been punished by an angry god. You discover bruises you did not notice earlier, hidden under adrenaline. You feel the tenderness, the swelling, the small, sharp pains. It is strangely intimate, this care, surrounded by hard routine. You wonder if the person massaging you ever gets tired of touching other people's suffering. You lie face down on a worn mat that smells like every man who has ever sweated on it, which is to say, history. The air is heavy with the scent of oil, skin, and whatever passed for antiseptic in the 1st century. You hear joints cracking like kindling nearby, and someone muttering a prayer to the gods of muscle recovery. You try not to think about the smell, or the bruises, or the fact that your legs are no longer responding to simple commands like hold still. The hands begin at your shoulders. They are experienced, not gentle, just efficient. Fingers dig into knots like they are trying to excavate lost Roman coins. Every press sends a signal to your brain that you are, in fact, not okay. You breathe out slowly, trying not to make embarrassing noises while your back is being flattened like bread dough. They move down your arms. You feel tenderness where you did not remember getting hit, probably from blocking wrong or breathing too hard in the wrong direction. Your biceps twitch, your elbows click. You do not ask questions. You let it happen. There is no modesty left to protect. Just the hope that your body will be slightly more functional by the time someone starts yelling again. Your ribs get attention next, which is bold, considering one of them might be cracked. The pressure makes you see stars, but you say nothing, because pain is normal, and you do not want to be the guy who cries during what is technically a kindness. Then the legs, the thighs are the worst. All the running, bracing, lunging, squatting, falling. Your muscles react like startled animals. The masseur works methodically, thumbs grinding into places that protest in ancient Latin. You consider biting your own hand. Instead, you stare at the floor and try to think about beans. Cold, safe, non-threatening beans. They finish with your calves, which are somehow both numb and on fire. You do not understand how that's possible. You just know it is true. The hands slow, then stop. You are not fixed, but you are adjusted. Like a bent piece of metal hammered mostly back into shape. You sit up slowly. Your body feels looser, but not lighter. The bruises are still there, but you are more aware of them now. A constellation of regret mapped across your limbs. You thank the masseur with a nod, which is about all you can manage. They nod back, already turning to the next person, as if your suffering was just another entry in the day's schedule, which it was. You stretch, cautiously. Some things pop, others squish. Nothing screams. That is considered progress. You glance at the others around you, some limping in, others limping out. This is just part of the cycle. Strain, soreness, repair, repeat. You dress again, slowly, like your body is a puzzle that you have to solve in the correct order or risk collapsing. The massage was not relaxing. It was not even pleasant, but it helped, just enough. And now, bruised but upright, you are ready to return to what the rest of the day demands, which is, unfortunately, probably more bruises. But at least now you know where they all are. The afternoon brings more drills, more repetition, more correction. Your arms feel heavier, your legs feel less interested in obeying. Yet you keep moving, because stopping is not a choice you can comfortably make. The trainer watches, and you focus on breathing, on rhythm, on small improvements. It is like learning to be calm while a storm is trying to live inside your chest. The sun is higher now, hotter, and far too smug about it. The sand beneath your feet has gone from mildly uncomfortable to fully committed oven tray. Each step is gritty resistance training. You sweat more than you thought a human could. Then you sweat beyond that. And still, the drills continue. Form, form, form. Footwork, pivot, strike, again. The doctor shouts corrections like a man conducting a very aggressive orchestra. Your stance is too wide. Your swing is lazy. Your shield arm is dragging. You take it all in, nodding, adjusting, pushing. You would argue, but he is right. And also he is holding a stick. The wooden post becomes your opponent. You hit it again and again, trying to make the motion smoother. Less panic, more purpose. It does not hit back, but it judges silently with every thud. You lose count of how many times you strike. Numbers become feelings. 10 swings becomes fatigue. 20 becomes fire in your shoulders. 30 becomes automatic. The other trainees around you move like shadows of yourself, all struggling, all sweating, all focused. There is very little ego here, not because people are humble, but because there is no time for it. The sand humbles everyone equally. You rotate through drills, partner exercises, defensive maneuvers, practicing falls that feel real enough to bruise even when they are done correctly. You block, you lunge, you get corrected. You try again, you block better, you lunge with less panic, you still get corrected. Sometimes your mind wanders, not far, just to the idea of not doing this. Sitting under a tree, being a fisherman, becoming a statue, anything that involves fewer commands and less sand in your teeth. But then someone yells your name, and you are back in it, swinging wood like your life depends on it. Because someday it might. Breaks come in short bursts. Water is passed around like treasure. You gulp it like you forgot how good swallowing feels. Someone jokes that they miss barley porridge. Someone else immediately questions their sanity. You all laugh for 5 seconds, then return to the drill. The weapons get heavier, or maybe your arms get weaker. Either way, you start to feel like a puppet with tangled strings, but you keep going. That is the only rule. Do not stop. Rest later. Regret later. For now, move. Eventually there is sparring. Just light contact. Controlled practice. But even this is enough to remind you how hard helmets are, how shields bite, how fast a mistake can arrive. You try to remember the drills. You apply what you can. You forget the rest. Sometimes you block. Sometimes you don't. Double sessions are not designed for fun. They are designed to build something out of you that can stand in an arena without falling apart. You are not there yet, but you are closer, and still conscious. Which, at this point in the day, is basically a medal. Somewhere between strikes and steps, you learn the quieter skill, how to keep your face calm even when your thoughts are not. Fear exists, of course it does, but panic wastes energy, and energy is everything. You practice looking steady, breathing steady, moving steady, like you are convincing your own mind that this is manageable. It is the ancient version of telling yourself you are fine while your calendar is on fire. It starts small. A tight chest when the trainer calls your name. A cold bloom in your stomach when you square up to spar with someone who once broke a helmet. Your brain whispers things you do not want to hear. You tell it to wait its turn. Then you breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Again. That is your first shield. Breath. You watch others too. How they mask it. One guy clenches his jaw until his face looks carved. Another smiles too wide. The kind of smile people wear when they are not okay. One mumbles to himself between drills. Maybe prayers, maybe curses, maybe both. Fear has 1,000 faces, and in this place most of them are sunburned. You learn the value of routines, touching your weapon the same way before every drill, standing with your feet a certain way, rolling your shoulders before sparring, tiny things, meaningless, except that they keep your mind from sprinting into the future where you trip and die dramatically in front of 20,000 people. Rituals matter. They give your brain a leash. The doctor, he talks about composure more than victory. He says a gladiator who looks calm is already halfway to winning. He says fear is like fire. It can warm you or burn you. Your job is to make it useful. You nod like you understand, even if part of you still wants to hide behind the nearest wall until retirement. In sparring, you start to feel it. The edge, the line between being alert and being overwhelmed. You mess up once and get a shield to the ribs. It hurts. Not bad, just enough to remind you. So next time, you breathe. You stay grounded. You see it coming and step out of the way. It is not magic. It is management. Mental crowd control. Between sessions, you sit with the others and listen. Not just to jokes and complaints, but to the way they describe matches. Not the fight, but the feeling. How they kept their heart rate down. How they waited for the other man to blink. How fear made them faster, sharper, or how it made them swing too wide and miss. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a moment they almost lost the fight in their own head. You practice visualization, not because you are some ancient wellness guru, but because imagining success is sometimes the only success you are going to get that day. You picture your stance, your timing, the sound of the crowd when you land a perfect hit. You make it real in your mind so it has a chance of being real in your body. You are not fearless. That is a lie people tell after they survive. You are just better at hiding it, at folding it neatly and putting it in your tunic pocket, where it cannot chew through your legs while you are trying to stand still. In a world like this, people cling to rituals. A charm, a whispered prayer, a small gesture before training. You hear names of gods, you see little offerings. You watch men do the same routine every day, as if it can bargain with fate. You do not laugh, not really. When the stakes are high, everyone becomes a little spiritual, even the guy who claims he is too tough for anything. It begins with small things. Someone taps their helmet 3 times before stepping onto the practice yard. Another tucks a folded piece of cloth into their belt, once part of a tunic worn by a brother who did not return. There is a man who mutters to Jupiter before every swing, like the king of the gods is also keeping score in sparring matches. Even you start to fall into habits. At first they are unconscious. You notice you tie your sandals the same way every morning. You always touch your chest once before a strike. Maybe it is just comfort. Maybe it is desperation wrapped in routine. You do not question it, not anymore. There are statues tucked into corners, small ones, worn by time and weather. Mars, of course, god of war, but also Fortuna, because luck matters more than anyone wants to admit. Hercules, because strength needs stories. Even Mercury, in case you need speed and a good trade with the afterlife. You learn that the Lannister burns incense in the morning. You never see it, but the smell clings faintly to the hallway. Someone scrapes a coin along the wall before big matches. Another ties red thread around his wrist. No one talks about it openly, like it would break the spell. The medicus has a pendant he wears under his tunic. He never explains it. He just touches it once before every treatment. It makes you feel slightly better. Not safer, but better. Like at least someone is trying to keep the balance. Food offerings are left near doorways, crumbs of bread, bits of dried fruit, a splash of wine that could have been drunk but wasn't. Sometimes it is just the gesture. Sometimes it is all someone can afford. You see a man give away his last fig and then go down hard in training. The next day, someone gives 2 figs, just in case. Before matches, the tension rises. Men pray in corners, lips moving fast. Some go quiet. Others get louder, laughing too hard, talking too fast, trying to scare away whatever invisible thing might be circling above their heads. You join in. A short sentence to a god you barely understand. You say it under your breath, more out of respect for the silence than belief, but you say it. No one talks about what happens when the prayers fail, about the man who never came back, about the charm found broken, about the offering that was missed. You just remember the names, the little tokens, the routines, and you do them again. Because whether it works or not, you feel better with it. Not protected exactly, just accompanied, like maybe someone is watching. And if that someone is bored or busy or questionable in moral alignment, at least they might notice if you make enough noise. So you keep tapping your helmet, keep whispering the same words, keep pretending that a red thread is stronger than a sword. Because in the world you live in, you need all the help you can get. You hear that the talk around you shifts quietly at first about upcoming games, upcoming matches, names whispered like weather forecasts. Someone says the word arena, and the room changes temperature. You try to act casual, like you're hearing about a party you might attend. Inside, your mind starts planning, imagining sand, noise, the smell of blood, the pressure of thousands of eyes. You keep your face calm because that is also part of training. It starts with rumour, a name dropped during cleanup, a merchant seen passing through town, a shipment of wine arriving early. All of it could mean one thing. There will be games. Maybe not here. Maybe in the city nearby. Maybe further. But close enough to involve you. The Lannister says nothing at first. He watches, listens, probably already knows. The man could sell a secret to a wall and still charge rent. But eventually word slips. The schedule is real. The list is forming. Fighters are being chosen. You hear your name in a sentence you wish had stopped one word sooner. A nod, a raised eyebrow, a grunt of sympathy. You are not confirmed, but you are in the wind now, floating toward the possibility of performance. Your mind does what minds do. It jumps ahead. You imagine your opponent. Big, fast, possibly both. You imagine the crowd, loud, hungry. You picture yourself walking through the tunnel, stepping into the light, the heat, the sound. Your hands sweat. You clench your jaw. You breathe through it. Someone offers advice. Do not tense your shoulders. Move early. Watch the hips, not the hands. All good tips. All things you already knew and immediately forgot. Someone else makes a joke. You laugh too hard because laughter is easier than acknowledging the countdown has quietly begun. You train harder. Not because you want to, because you must. Each swing has more weight. Every mistake feels sharper. Your focus narrows. The yard feels smaller. Time feels shorter. Your mind keeps you busy, not panicked. Not yet. Just busy. Your thoughts stack up. What will you wear? Who will you face? Will they cheer? Will they boo? Will they remember your name or just the outcome? The men who have fought before say very little, One of them puts a hand on your shoulder just once, then walks away. That is the closest thing to reassurance you will get, and it is enough, because you know that silence is full of memory. You start paying attention to things you ignored before, the grip on your training sword, the balance of your step, the edge of your peripheral vision. You are searching for something, a pattern, an edge, a clue that you are ready. You are not. No one is. But you fake it, because the arena does not care how you feel. It only asks if you can stand up when the gate opens. Days pass. The list becomes official. Your name is on it. It is there, in ink. You stare at it like it might blink, like it might change its mind. It does not. You nod to yourself. No one else sees. No one needs to. The games are coming. You are going, and you are not ready. But you are going anyway, because that is the job, because that is the system, because now someone has mentioned your next fight, and that changes everything. You are reminded that gladiators can become popular, even adored, despite their low social status and the fact that polite society pretends not to take you seriously. People might bet on you, cheer for you, send gifts, talk about you at dinner. It is fame with a sharp edge, because the same crowd that loves you also demands spectacle. Imagine being celebrated at work while everyone is also fine with your job being lethal. That is Rome smiling. It begins with rumours again, a whisper that a sponsor is coming to visit the Ludus. A name you barely recognise, a senator's nephew, a merchant with money, someone who wants to be associated with blood without actually spilling any. You tidy up your kit, you wipe the sweat off your face, you stand a little straighter. Even in chains, image matters. The sponsor arrives in robes that cost more than your freedom. He surveys the yard like a man shopping for shoes. You are not supposed to stare, but you watch from the side of your eye. He speaks with the lanista. They both laugh. You wonder if the joke was about you. There is talk of matching colours, of silk banners, of painted shields, of names and branding. Because why die anonymously when you can die as part of someone's marketing plan? The sponsor picks a few names. Yours is among them. You feel proud. Then you feel something colder than pride. The crowd is another beast entirely. You are told that they remember fighters, that they chant for favourites, that they throw roses and coins, that they scream for blood with the joy of children watching fireworks. You are not just fighting, you are performing. Every step, every swing, every fall, all of it is part of a story they paid to see. You hear stories of gladiators who become famous, who get fan letters in the form of carved wax tablets, who get perfumes and love notes and baskets of bread. Some even get freedom eventually, bought by rich admirers or earned through enough victories. You also hear about the ones who got too confident and died while waving at the crowd. Fame in the arena is a little like fame in a restaurant kitchen. People love the result. They just do not care if the chef catches fire. You begin to notice how people look at you, the way your name is said with curiosity, the way your presence draws glances. You are not sure if it is admiration or a preemptive obituary. You start to feel the weight of your own reputation forming. You have not earned it yet, but it is arriving anyway. You wonder what your sponsor wants. Glory by association, political favour, a conversation starter at parties. You wonder if they would remember your name in a year, or if they would even notice if you did not come back. Still, you have to train harder, not just for survival, but because you know they are watching. Someone is always watching, and in Rome, being noticed is not nothing. The gear you wear may someday bear their colours. The shield might have a painted animal, a lion, an eagle, something noble and aggressive, a symbol that says this fighter belongs to someone important. Like a very muscular pet, you dream of cheers, of a crowd shouting your name, of victory. But you also dream of silence, of slipping beneath the sand with no applause. The same crowd that lifts you up can forget you in an afternoon. You are becoming a character in someone else's play, the hero, the underdog, the favourite, and you hope the script does not end too early, because in Rome fame is sharp, and you are holding it by the blade. Dinner arrives and the conversation gets louder, partly because food helps, and partly because humour is a shield. You hear jokes about training, about scars, about the Lannister's mood, about the strange rules of the world. Some jokes land, some are forced, some are clearly said to cover fear. You eat, you listen, you smile, and you notice how everyone avoids certain topics like tomorrow. The food is familiar. Barley again. Maybe some beans. A bit of onion if someone up top was feeling generous or bored. It is not a meal you savour. It is a meal you survive. But it is warm, and that counts. You chew without thinking, the rhythm of it as steady as breathing. Around the table the energy shifts. Bodies are tired, but voices pick up speed. Someone makes a crude joke about the doctor's favourite sandals. Someone else mimics the Lannister's walk. A third person pretends to narrate training like it is a tragic stage play. Laughter ripples. It is too loud for the joke, but just loud enough for the fear. You are not laughing because it is hilarious. You are laughing because it feels better than silence. There is a rhythm to this. Eat, joke, grunt, laugh, sip water like it is wine, poke fun at each other, poke fun at the Empire, poke fun at yourself, just enough to seem brave. It is part of the ritual, like bandaging your hands or stretching your legs. Only now you are stretching your nerves. Someone shares a story from their home, a real one this time, not a bit, not a joke, just a memory. It gets quiet, not awkward, just still. You feel something press against your ribs. It is not pain, it is homesickness, or something close enough to it that your chest gets tight. Then someone makes a joke about flatulence during sparring, and the tension cracks again. You are grateful for it. You are getting too close to thinking about things. You learn who tells the best stories, who eats the fastest, who stares into space like they are rehearsing their final words. You see which men joke hardest. They are usually the ones whose eyes are just a little too shiny when they laugh. You recognize the tone. It is the sound of trying not to break. You talk too, just enough to be part of the pack. You throw out a sarcastic comment. You exaggerate how bad your last sparring session was. You even make fun of your own footwork. They laugh. You feel lighter. Briefly. But no one mentions the list. No one says the word arena. Not directly. Someone almost does, then turns it into a joke about sandals again. Everyone gets it. No one calls them out. This is a place where understanding lives in subtext. The meal ends slowly. No rush. Everyone milks the time. This is the softest part of the day. And even though it is plain food on rough plates, it has the feeling of a feast just because everyone is still here. Still breathing. Still whole. You lean back against the wall, bowl empty, and exhale through your nose like an old man pretending he's satisfied. Someone else burps. Another man starts humming something off key and ancient. It sounds like home, or at least what home sounds like in a place where everything has been replaced with stone and sweat. You say nothing, you just sit there. Dinner ends and people start drifting. Some to bunk, some to walk, some to polish gear again, as if control lives in clean edges. No one says good night. That would sound too final. Instead, someone says, "Try not to fart in your sleep." And someone else laughs too hard. That is close enough. As the sun lowers, the ludus grows calmer, footsteps soften, voices drop, and the day's noise finally fades. This is when your thoughts arrive, fresh and uninvited. You think about home, if you have one, and about the arena, if it is coming soon. The quiet feels gentle, but it also feels like a mirror, and mirrors can be rude. You sit in your bunk or maybe lean against a warm stone wall, the last of the sunlight hitting your skin in a way that almost feels kind. For a moment, you let your shoulders drop. Your muscles are sore, your hands are raw, your ribs still ache from a training blow that landed just a bit too hard. But right now, nothing is expected of you. Not until morning. This is the closest thing you get to peace. Some men talk in hushed tones, stories from childhood if they remember it, women they knew, a sibling, a goat. Someone makes a joke about missing a dog more than an ex-wife. It gets a chuckle, then quiet again. It is as if everyone agreed not to speak above a certain volume, not out loud. You think about the arena again. You try not to, but it sneaks in. What it will feel like underfoot. What the crowd will sound like. If your opponent will be someone you know, you wonder how many more evenings like this you will have. Not because you feel doomed, just because you understand how fast things change when your profession includes the phrase deadly outcomes. There is a calm to the school now that feels almost sacred. You hear someone sharpening a blade in the distance, slow and steady. You hear someone else coughing in the rhythm of a man who has trained too long on cold mornings. A few others pray under their breath. You do not know which gods they favour. It does not matter. You think maybe any god willing to listen is good enough. You remember something from home, a smell, a song, the shape of a doorway. It does not hurt exactly, but it pulls at something. You let the memory sit with you for a bit, then let it go. It is too heavy to carry into tomorrow. A few of the older gladiators clean their gear with the patience of men who know how little they control. You watch one of them hum as he polishes a greave, like this is just another chore. Like polishing armor is the same as brushing your teeth or folding laundry. There is comfort in the ritual. You realize you could eat some more, but you also know there is nothing more to eat. Rome feeds you just enough to keep the muscles working and the heart beating. That is the deal. You shift, adjusting a wrapped wrist, and wince slightly. The pain is dull now, familiar. You take a deep breath, and the air smells of oil, leather, and dust. Not sweet, but real. Someone down the hall snores. Someone else is already muttering in sleep. The world is settling. You close your eyes for a moment and try not to count the things you miss. It is easier to focus on what you have. A blanket, a place to rest, a little quiet, a few hours where no one is shouting your name or handing you a weapon. You will sleep soon. But for now, you just sit in the lull, letting your mind wander because for once it is allowed to. And in this silence, you almost feel human again. You realize again that rest here is communal, close, and practical. You lie down on simple bedding, in a room that holds other breathing bodies. The sounds are familiar now. Sighs, shifting straw, distant murmurs. You find a position that hurts the least, which is the ancient version of luxury. You settle in because the body will take sleep wherever it can find it. The bedding is not soft. It is not even really bedding. It is a mat, or maybe just a worn cloth over something that used to be straw. It smells like effort and time. Still, your body sinks into it like a deal has been made. You give me a place to collapse, and I will try not to complain. You are not alone. That is the defining feature of life here. Never alone. There are other men breathing in the same room, filling the air with the quiet proof that everyone survived the day. Some are already drifting off, their breath slowing, their limbs finally allowed to sprawl. Others are shifting, trying to find a position that does not press on a bruise or a bad memory. Privacy is not a thing, not in the way you once imagined it. If you turn your head, you see someone else. If you speak, someone hears. If you snore, someone knows. You learn to exist in shared space. You learn to dream in public. Someone is humming. A low tune, no words. It is barely audible, like a memory of music. You do not recognize the melody, but it makes something in your chest feel warm. Or maybe that is just fatigue reaching spiritual levels. You stretch your toes and wince. Your calf cramps a little, then releases. Your ribs complain when you breathe too deep. This is the nightly ritual. A gentle inventory of what hurts, what still works, and what might surprise you tomorrow by not working at all. You listen. A foot shifts. Someone lets out a breath like they have been holding it all day. One man mutters something in a language you do not know. Another coughs twice, then stops. The sounds of sleep, or the things that come right before it. There is no candlelight, no fire crackling romantically in a corner, just shadows, just the occasional gleam of moonlight catching on a piece of armor hanging nearby. This is not a place built for aesthetics. It is built for function. Rest is part of training. Recovery is part of survival. The room understands that, even if the mattress does not. You let your mind wander, just a little. You do not let it go far. It tries to ask big questions. You do not answer. You give it something smaller, like the memory of your first day here, or the way barley always sticks to your teeth, or the sound of the sand under your sandals when you are the only one walking. Your eyes close, but not fully. You hover between wakefulness and rest. Someone rolls over. The straw rustles. You feel the weight of the day leaving your limbs, like a slow tide pulling away from the shore. You're too tired to fight it. There is no blanket ceremony, no goodnight kiss, just gravity, shared air, and the fragile peace of not being needed for a few hours. You shift once more, find the least painful way to exist. Your breathing slows, and finally, despite the noise, despite the bruises, despite the room full of strangers, you begin to sleep. It is not comfort, but it is enough. You drift into half-dream. The arena appears bright and loud, even in the dark behind your eyelids. You hear the crowd. You feel the weight of the helmet. You sense the sand underfoot. Your mind rehearses because it thinks it is helping and because it does not understand the concept of a quiet night. You breathe slowly, letting the dream soften, letting the noise fade into something distant. But it keeps returning. You do not mean to invite it. You're not planning. You're not strategizing. But somehow the image comes back, again and again, like a stubborn pop-up in your mental browser. The crowd rising like a tide, the sun blazing overhead, your fingers clenching around a sword hilt. There is no script in these dreams. just the overwhelming sense that everything matters. Your body is still in the sleeping room, you know that, but your thoughts are pacing in circles, shadowboxing with imaginary opponents. You replay footwork drills, even though your legs are trying to recover. You feel the sensation of impact, as if muscle memory has followed you into unconsciousness. Your shoulder twitches like it is still blocking a strike that hasn't happened yet. Your back tightens against the memory of armor. You try to steer the dream towards something else, a breeze, a field, maybe a kitchen, maybe your mother's voice, or at least your best guess at what that sounded like. A warm place, a safe place, somewhere your name is not shouted by strangers who want blood, but your mind is stubborn. It has latched onto the shape of the arena like it is your destiny, not just your job. It circles it, again and again, like a moth circling a torch. Sometimes the applause is for you, sometimes it is not. Sometimes the dream crowd cheers your name. Sometimes they shout for someone else. Sometimes they boo. You cannot always tell the difference between real fear and rehearsal fear. They both feel sharp behind your ribs, and either way, your feet keep moving, your hand keeps reaching for a weapon. You shift in your sleep. A man nearby mutters something unintelligible. Someone snores gently, a small reminder that other lives are still being lived beside yours. You are still here, still among the breathing, but your subconscious is already halfway through tomorrow's opening act. It builds a scenario, a faceless opponent, a shield raised, a feint, a swing, a cheer, a silence. You do not know who wins. Your dream never gets that far. It only repeats the beginning, over and over, like an old song with no second verse. Your brain keeps hitting play. You feel your jaw tighten. You feel the dream sweat start to form, even though you are not moving. You breathe in slowly, trying to reset, trying to remind yourself this is not real, not yet. You shift again. The straw beneath you rustles, your shoulder complains, your fingers twitch. Your body is sore, but still. Your thoughts are not. Eventually the dream loses its grip. It softens into fog. The sand becomes water. The sword becomes a stick. The crowd becomes wind. And for a few minutes, maybe longer, maybe less, you sleep without rehearsal. You do not know what happens then. Maybe your brain switches to something kinder, a face you miss, a laugh, a breeze, the smell of bread, or maybe it gives you nothing at all, just darkness and silence, a pause, a gift. This kind of sleep does not last long, but when you have it, you take it. You do not ask questions, you do not push for more. You just breathe and let the dream do whatever it wants. You're still here, and that, for tonight, is everything.